Hello and a big welcome back, A-League fans, to another episode of the A-League Download presented by Isuzu Ute. A big happy new year to you all out there. It feels like the league has flipped upside down in only a few weeks since we have been back. But Newcastle are on a tear. One Mutter is firing for Melbourne Victory. A lot to talk about in this episode. I am your host, Jake Barker-Daish, and joined by the elite crew today of Naum Sekulovski, 108 caps for Perth Glory, and the three-time A-League champion, Archie Thompson. Guys, how are we?
Yeah, good, man. Happy New Year. Merry
How good's this?
Oh, yeah, your Christmas in a couple of days,
Srećan Božić.
Srećan Božić, yeah, absolutely. On Wednesday, we've got Orthodox Christmas. Sveti Naum today, my name day today.
Oh, name day?
Yeah, kept that one in the pocket.
Oh, my God.
So it's Srećan Imenden.
Oh, it's the show of Barker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Saint Naum, you know,
Saint
the
Naum.
healer of mental health.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A few
100%.
people might be needing that after the Christmas and New Year break. But it wouldn't be a show without the downloads. As we always say, with hitting off with some bangers. There's a lot of topics to go through, but first we have to look at this one from the Ninja A-Leagues. Peta Trimis for Central Coast with an absolute pearler here, Archie, against your old Melbourne Victory.
Oh, well, it was an absolute bomb. I mean, look how far out she's hit this. And, okay, we've seen probably a few goals that have been hit outside the 18-yard box, and you think, okay, maybe the keeper could have done a little bit better. This one, I'm afraid, she's not doing anything of that. And it ended up being an amazing game. 3 goals in injury time to get Melbourne Victory back. Amazing.
Yeah, probably the comeback of the season across all the A-Leagues that we'll see this year. Incredible effort from Melbourne Victory. A game that we missed in our break off was Macarthur versus Newcastle, and Eli Adams, the man we've been speaking about for so long in this show, he came back with a bit of a storm here now with the left foot. This ball was dazzling.
The old moose knuckle. You know, we don't mind a knuckle, and this thing just moved. I think Curto goes slightly left, and then he plants. And he just looks at it, admires it going into that bottom right, but the movement off it's outrageous.
I mean,
absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, this is something that you don't really see coaches teach players as well. This is just purely Eli Adams picking up a ball, practicing himself and making it happen.
It's just putting the time in. On the training track, getting a few balls and just banging them in, bang, bang, bang. And he might shank, 20, 30, but once you hit that sweet spot, that's what happens.
Yeah, well, a top play. It had the jaw dropping of a lot of Newcastle fans. Let's have a look around the grounds after Eli Adams put this peach in. Here they are, just watching the replay, about to come through, and then focus on the man in the white here. Yeah. A big shout out to him because this is brilliant. Arch, look at this.
Oh, man.
Oh, he's grabbed. He's absolutely buzzing.
Mate, when I see that look now, it's usually with my golf swing, but that's amazing, bro. I love that.
Yeah, great to see.
Brilliant.
Well, we're going to be getting into some Newcastle content because since we've had a break, they seems like they're winning all the time. But we've got to start with the Wanderers because there's a bit of concern coming out of Western Sydney. They haven't had the best of results. They're winless in 5 games with only 2 goals since November. They are now bottom of the ladder now. It's a bit of a tricky situation. They had a big transition. They made finals last year. Now they're on the bottom. People are having those tough conversations in the press conference with Alen Stajcic. I mean, how are you kind of seeing where they're at the minute?
Yeah, it's a real tough one for the Wanderers and Staj at the moment, considering where they were last year and where they are now. And it's not a long, it's not a long period of time, right, for things to be going south. So I know he's spoken in press conferences about, inches and looking at, I think their XG as well.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, you can hit the post X amount of times or have, an expected XG. If you're not scoring them goals, unfortunately, you're not going to win games, and they've just been struggling to, hit the net. That's
a great point. We could pull up some of their season stats here so you can have a look on the screen. But Archie, I guess to get your 2 cents as well, they haven't been in the best run of form. The squad probably hasn't replaced the likes of a Sapsford and Milanovic as well. I guess your feeling around them, because I know you spoke earlier in the year of they're missing that creative link.
Yeah, well, we talked about Juan Mata and what he's doing at Melbourne Victory. And everyone probably was thinking, even a Western Sydney fan would have been thinking last year, maybe Mata wasn't good enough or his body's
he's done.
He's done.
Yep.
But obviously, that's not the case, mate, because what he's doing at Victory and what he could have been doing for that Western Sydney team has been a big miss from them. And whether that comes down to just poor management, coaching, only time will tell. but there's got to be some certain pressure on Staj. I know in the press conference he says, I don't feel pressure. Well, that's fine, because if you don't, you don't. And but the way that sport is, and with coaching, they're probably the first one to be shown the door. You don't want like anyone to lose their job, but we're in a pressure game, and something needs to be done.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do here is we'll actually have a look at this press conference before we talk about the reasons why the pressure is building on Staj. But these are some of the words that he had to say in his most recent press conference.
We're controlling games, dominating games, creating chances. We're a good team. We're a good team. Just, 9 posts in 11 games, it's also tough. That means you're 1 inch away from a goal or not. Even if half of those went in, we'd be on 20 points. I still think, I'll say it till my last breath, that I still think we're good enough to win the comp, and every team who plays against us knows they've got a tough game ahead.
Butker, what do we respond to that?
Yeah, 1 inch away. If I was 0.5 of a second quicker, I would have been an Olympic gold medalist. It's not like I get what Staj is saying, but that's the reality. If I look at, even if I turn the mirror inward and look at my career, if I'd worked 5-10% harder, then I might have played in Europe. So it's them what ifs, right? Ultimately, we have to take responsibility, and now Staj has to take that responsibility. Whether it's moments like that, man management, Arch.
Yeah.
You talk about the Juan Mata, and we've probably all been in scenarios where one coach really likes you, the next coach doesn't.
Yeah.
But clearly, like that scenario in itself, is night and day.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk. Even the players are actually being a bit vocal and upfront to everyone about what's been going on. I mean, I think it was which one? Altay was talking about like
Claire as well.
Yeah, Claire. I mean, to be like publicly saying things like this, there's certainly some things going on. And look, sometimes with players, you might be a bit upset about not being selected. And that might be just that you don't fit into a certain system, and you can get a little bit dirty about that, and that's just football sometimes. But if you got 2 people saying it, what's kind of brewing there, and what's the culture like? Culture's a massive thing in football, and if the culture's not good in a club, then it starts to spill out onto the field.
Well, for those at home that don't know what Archie's talking about, a couple of players from Western Sydney Wanderers took to Instagram to say there's some politics and some reasons they're not getting picked other than form, which just creates that friction, which isn't too abnormal in a football club. But when you look at them, 2 wins, 3 draws, 6 losses, and 8 goals, which is the least in the competition this year, the pressure's really rising on them. We're going to have to see how that turns for Western Sydney, because they are a big club. It is also allegedly that Harrison Delbridge has signed for them from Incheon in Korea, so that might be a bit of a bolster they needed. But we'll keep a close eye on them, because, Naum, you're right, XG, they're on top of the ladder, which obviously means nothing if you're sitting on the bottom and hitting the post 9 times.
And I will say, though, this league is crazy. So, I mean, they're sitting at the bottom of the table right now. I mean, we've got teams at the top that are losing. You wouldn't even think that would be to lose, like Brisbane. You look at Adelaide just recently. So, look, it's Western can get on a bit of a run, right, and change it up. But at the moment, it's a scary time.
Well, I'll ask you just one more direct question before we jump onto Wellington. Staj said he believes they can still win the league. They're obviously sitting 12th. You made a good point, because last time we were here, maybe a month ago, Newcastle were on the bottom. Now look at them. But at the same time, is that a realistic opportunity now for the Wanderers to be back up there?
Look, maybe a little bit too late, to be perfectly honest, in the season. To Archie's point, you just never know. You need a good block. Look at what Dilla's done with Victory, and with Juan Mata really being the architect there, right? So you never know. Can they win the league? Probably not. But let's see. Let him prove us wrong.
Yep, absolutely. We love a big win story on this show. We had to, talking about big wins, Wellington Phoenix. This was the biggest win in Chiefy's career. These were his words from a press conference that we'll have a look at. But one of the great games of the A-League, Wellington versus Brisbane out at KO Stadium. It was a sellout, and Wellington got the chocolates with only 10 men. Let's have a look at what Chiefy had to say.
Best victory I've ever had as a coach. We've had it very hard. I felt like it was almost like the football gods want Carlo to get sent off, so for us to go through this lesson, and then we're going to take this in order to, to take the next move.
Well, it's not too often you see Chiefy getting emotional,
Yeah.
Archie, and I guess you watch this one as well. This was a big win.
Well, look, I putting from about 3 feet, right? I miss it, right? And as soon as I hit a 3 foot one, that's how emotional I get. You know? So, I think that when he talks about what we've been going through, I think there's a lot of talk about himself because there's been a lot of pressure on that Wellington side. So that's a big relief on him personally, I would say, that's why he's getting so emotional. And for the team, I mean, that's an incredible win. Like no one saw that coming, the way that Brisbane were winning games, and especially being at home, a massive crowd, and especially being on the road for I think it was 4 games to come back. Like all the ingredients for Brisbane to do well. But Wellington came out, did it unbelievable with a man down. So I can understand where he's been emotional, but you need to be able to back that up next week. It's no good doing this now and then going back home when you're playing against an Adelaide side that are pretty wounded at the moment too, and not do anything. So you'd be happy with that, but what's next week?
Yeah, it's a great point. Well, Butker here, it's their first clean sheet for Wellington since January of 2025, so 22 games ago, that was their last clean sheet, which is incredible. I want, Butker, you to just talk us through this one, though. Carlo Armiento got a red card early on. It was in the 38th minute, and the whole game changed here. But look at this, Butker. Absolutely rips open here.
Yep.
Is that a red card? For one, the angle's a bit it's a bit difficult to see, right? But then all hell breaks loose here, and look at him go.
Yeah, no, it's handbags. Yeah, a little bit of WWF Royal Rumble style. You know, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, God bless his soul. So really, it looks slightly staged. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But the red card comes out. Look, we don't really get a clean angle of that tackle. You don't really get a clean angle. So, I mean, to send him off. Look, to Chiefy's point, it probably gets them to a point where they're like, okay, we're in, battle tempo now, right? We're really going to focus. Whether that's a red card or not, remains to be seen. I think another camera angle would give us a clearer outcome. Back to Chiefy, I think it's just the human element of being in professional football, right? And in this environment, sometimes, you're not letting your guard down. You're just letting go of that pressure arch, like you said, on an individual point, where you just got to let it out. You just got to let it out, and you know what? That's not bad to see every now and again.
Yeah, well, I do have to say, from a Wellington standpoint as well, that's an intimidating fixture for a team, particularly when you're on the bottom, going away to Brisbane, who are kicking everyone. Yeah. They're having brawls in the tunnels with opposition.
It's all happening.
All sorts is kicking off with them, right? And they go there and get the 3-0 win. I will say in that scuffle, if Eze got a yellow card, but was one of 20 there, refs need to back off him. He's getting stitched up a lot there for breathing. I put that out on a post yesterday, which he loved.
Did ya?
Yeah.
You head out on the socials and have a bit of a rant.
If Eze started liking it and followed this, I appreciate you, mate.
Love that.
But just to move to Brisbane, obviously, they've been a great story this year for what they've brought to the league, the competitiveness. But they went down, they played against 10 men for over 60 minutes, Butker. I mean, then you go and concede 2 more. What do you feel with them? I mean, what was the disconnect? Obviously, Valkanis is up in the stands, kind of won the battle but lost the war.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a fair bit happening. And we understand that Valkanis has come in, and really it's us against the world type scenario. You just want to see a little bit of calm in that situation. Now, whether that was a disconnect with the gaffer being up top, but it's maybe pointing to a few of the leaders on the park to say, all right, let's control the game now. We should have the bulk of possession. And we can pick and choose when we go forward, pick our moments. And at the same time, defensively, make sure that we don't get caught on the slingshot, which they did a couple of times. So probably looking for a little bit more maturity. Maybe that's what they're lacking within the squad. So yeah, that's I think where it fell down for me. Just that little bit of maturity within the squad.
Well said. Well, Archie, their creativity is a talking point for Brisbane now because they've scored 11 goals, so they're equal second worst in the league. 3 goals to Justin Vidic. They've got, I think Roos has got a couple, but they're just struggling to get more goals in that front third and that creative flair. I mean, O'Shea's there, they've got Klein, but do they need a bit more?
Yeah, I think so. When you look at particularly that first half where really Brisbane didn't come out of the traps, pretty much the whole game. You were probably looking for a better performance. Billity makes a silly mistake, and they score from there. And then they're just trying to lump balls long because they're thinking that Wellington's going to be high, but then the quality was not good. And I talked about Macarthur as the young goalkeeper. Inexperience. I feel like he still needs to mature. They didn't pepper him enough, I don't think, especially with a man down. But these are these finer moments. I think it was Vidic actually had a great chance, hits the post right at the start of the second half. Could have ultimately changed the stem of the game, but you don't take that. And like you said, I think Eze, man, this guy. It's like, I don't know, he's on Energizer, he's an Energizer bunny, man. He is up and down. And, the way they scored that second goal was just incredible. I mean, those lung-busting runs he does, amazing.
They were awesome. It was like Archie Thompson in 07.
Oh, no, I couldn't get
like that.
I'd be gassed. I'd be gassed. Sure.
Well, just quickly, actually, the 2 cents on KO Stadium.
Love it. Mate, how good is it?
Sell out there, right? A bit of a smaller space, but...
I think we've discussed that sort of commercial element where we get away from the, big stadium scenario, draw it back to local type football. Sydney have done it at Leichhardt. It looks great. Now KO Stadium, same thing. I think it was a sellout yesterday.
Yeah, sellout.
What more do you want? Yeah. So I think it's almost, or could be, the blueprint of the future. If the league are looking at this now and saying, okay, how do we make this good on and off the park? That's almost the blueprint moving forward.
Well, it's not just a perk for the men's, but it was a perk for the women's, because it was a sellout in the Ninja A-Leagues for Brisbane and Wellington in the game as well, which followed, and this was an absolute pearler of a game. This potentially was one of the games of the season, with Brooke Nunn getting a 98th minute equaliser, which rescued a point for Wellington at KO Stadium. And we're going to argue here whether this might be the best game of the season across both the men's and women's, but let's just have a look at the goals to take you through it, because a lot happened here, Arch. This one was just a hit and hope, I think.
Yeah,
I think caught off position.
Yeah, I think she wins the ball, but she sees where the keeper is, so she's decided to hit that really nice and quickly, and this is a great
This is a banger.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think there's too much.
That's Piazza. What a goal that was.
I don't think there's too much the goalkeeper can do here, but this was an unbelievable finish. She saw that the keeper was, off her line. Yeah. She's like, I'm going to pretend to cross here, and I'm going to try and hit it towards the goal.
Well, yeah.
And like you said, I think it was the bright lights.
I think it might have been the bright lights.
Yeah, the bright lights.
The keeper's just lost it in the bright lights. But
it's what we call the cross shot.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a feature that's been going well, but that was an equaliser by Brooke Nunn. It's an incredible game. Just to talk about the showcase, a full atmosphere. There was no Sumba as well, who's been electrifying in the competition, and all the views across A-League socials has been Sumba. But a great kind of mantra for the female game to follow the men's game at a smaller location where it's a sellout. Perfect.
Again, massive tick from a league perspective or a club perspective from what they're doing up in Queensland. I'd say the other clubs across the country could take a leaf out of their book and copy paste it, replicate it, see if it works, see how it fits on. Does it look good? Why not? But whatever they're doing, massive tick for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as Archie showed with Petta's goal, Central Coast, Melbourne Victory, some great comebacks in the game as well. I will stand corrected. Summer did play. She did just go off injured in that one, but potentially one of the games of the season in the Ninja A-Leagues up in Brisbane. We've got to go to Archie's mob, Melbourne Victory, because it felt like it was a month ago we were talking about him in a light where we were fearing for Dilla's future, we were fearing for the club direction, and then Juan Mata arrived and put his foot down, and Nikos Virgos has started scoring. Archie,
yes,
they're 4 on the bounce, you're smiling again.
Amy
Park was rocking. How good is it feeling?
It's really good, and this is where I guess you can look at maybe a bit of hope for Western Sydney and Staj. Like you said about where Arthur Dillis was and where Victory were, but it was close. For Melbourne Victory, it was close before it started clicking, right? I love talking about a golf analogy, so I'm going to whip out another one here. It's like my swing, right? I went and had a lesson, and he gave me a few to tinker with, and it wasn't working, but it was almost right there. I could feel it. And then I played a game on the weekend and tore it up. Just because it started to click. But I stuck with the process. Yeah. That's what Melbourne Victory are doing now, but it's that man on screen. Yeah. Juan Mata, he just gets better and better. I mean, he's controlling of the game is amazing. And Santos has been electric now. I think Jean Rowe comes in and has a great game after sitting and doing his time on the bench. And I liked his interview after the game because he talked about, yes, I made a mistake against Brisbane. I've had to sit on the bench and bide my time. But as a professional, I'm going to keep working for the team. And when my moment comes, I'm going to come on and perform.
Yeah.
Okay, he might have made a little mistake for that second goal for Perth.
For Perth, yeah.
But I would have to say that Victory is probably the form team at the moment in this.
Yeah, and I don't want to discredit Arthur Dillers and the set piece coaching, but apparently that corner was Juan Mata's thinking.
Yeah.
He just saw Nishan out the back and just decided to hit that ball. As they said on the comms that it was a set play, but it actually wasn't. So
Yeah, man,
just shows his influence.
You can't buy experience.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun, you can't buy experience, and he's been an absolute weapon. Again, a big difference from last year to this year. You play him, you give him the time, you're getting that return on investment. And just the energy, I mean, Diller's back. He's bought his second house in Melbourne now. He's safe. He's all good. He's increased that real estate portfolio. No, he hasn't. Diller, love you. But it's good to see, Arch, to your point, when things fall in place. And, they kept chipping away, working. They stayed persistent with Juan Mata as well, and it's paying off dividends.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just to go into, I mean, they almost could have been down 2-0 in that game as well. So they're suffering and they're finding a way to win. But Perth really had a chance to kill the game before half-time. Something that's kind of brewing for Melbourne Victory in the background is no Miranda now. He's been injured.
Yeah.
Esposito's probably a bit short of form. Jackson's a bit out of favour. Hamler's still coming back from an ACL. So that's central defence is going to be the real question mark that Victory is going to be speaking about through this week.
Yeah.
What do you think they'll do, Arch?
Well, I actually said on the game, on the coverage of the game, that if Perth had maybe have gone into the half-time without conceding that late goal, I mean, but the pressure that Melbourne Victory were putting on this team was amazing. It could have been a little different, and I would have been Adam Griffiths in the change room. Let's go at that defence because you've got Esposito, Davidson, Troy hasn't played much football.
Oh, Kral, the king is back. Massive shout out to Adama right here.
Yeah,
right here,
what an unbelievable.
Can you believe he's still playing, by the way?
Mate,
it's unbelievable.
Amazing. So I would have been going, let's get at this team, but the pressure that Melbourne Victory were putting on were amazing. But it's this week. I wonder how they're going to try and figure that out because Miranda's a massive loss if he's going to be out for a long time.
Do you think did they know he had a knock going in?
They did say that
they
there was.
did know that?
Yeah, a little bit. So hopefully it's not as serious as what we all think, and maybe it was a precautionary thing, and maybe it's only going to be a couple of weeks. But in terms of even Dillis is saying for their football to be played well from the back. He's probably the one that's going to do a lot of it, Miranda, because of his quality and distribution.
He'll drive it.
Yeah, whereas Esposito doesn't have that. And so if you're going to have a makeshift backline, we saw what happened with Adelaide. It's, but, they've got some quality. Davidson maybe, if they stick with that. Who knows? But that's one thing that I'd be concerned about.
I'm not sure if they can, but I wonder if they'll go in the window and maybe look to... one end of the field, they're going to look to plug something, I think. So we'll see what's happening with Melbourne Victory. But our Australia Cup champions, Newcastle Jets, haven't they been on a run? They are the only team to beat Auckland twice in a season. They've won 3 times in New Zealand this year, which is the same amount of games Wellington has won at home, which is an incredible stat. But Naum, I want us to have a look at this Newcastle team and talk about it. But let's have a look at these goals. And
please, let's do it.
Because you love some of these players.
Look at this.
In particular.
Yeah, look,
Adams.
Rose... Just unbelievable. Proper poacher's goal there, just tucks in. And our man, Dobbo. How can you not love this kid? How old is he?
He's 18.
He's 13 and a half years old. Absolutely dominating in the league. And again, testament really to Newcastle for backing in their young boys. Here we go. On the slingshot counter-attack. Where's the goalkeeper? No man's land. Off we go.
Yeah.
How good's that?
It's incredible that they beat Auckland twice.
Amazing.
And Natta too. I mean, those guys were defending with a man down for I think it was 15th, 16th minute. And you've got your central defender who's probably under the cosh the whole game, sprinting to get that ball, plays a lovely little outside of the foot or whatever it was to Rose. And mate, I really like this Newcastle team. but they've scored 23.
Yeah, it's finding the balance.
Conceded 23.
Yeah,
what is that? Why is that happening really? I mean, we know it's the young sort of inexperienced balance, but I mean, can they fix that? Because that's going to be pivotal for them making the finals, really.
Yeah.
Maybe one, again, just strong, experienced head, you know, in that back line, you know, Miranda-esque almost.
Yeah.
Right? That can really control that back four. Or even it might be, you know, a six that can play that role, potentially changes that dynamic. But really, you fix that. Like, you know, you fix that leakage, and they're super dangerous and super young. Like I dare say, the next challenge for a club like Newcastle is, you know, depending on what their plan is from a football department perspective, how do we hold on to these kids? You know, without 2 or 3 of them going, because once you drain, you got to replenish as well. So
a team on the move and on the rise is Macarthur. We just have seen Mitch Duke has selected them, which I'm tipping there was quite a few teams in the race for him. But he's made his choice to go to Macarthur, who have moved up to 4th. They are looking very, very good in the competition. Guys, where are we thinking around them? They've obviously bolstered in a lot of areas. They've got the experience in Bratton. They've brought in Damien De Silva, who's steadied the ship. They've got the imports haven't been really getting goals in that front third from Ji Dong-won and also Duran, who will show a goal shortly. Are we feeling like they're going to be a contender? Are they a chance?
They're kind of hot and cold. I don't know if they're one of the most exciting teams to watch.
great finish, by the way.
Yeah, amazing finish.
Unbelievable.
I think the game against Newcastle where they won 4-3, I thought that was probably one of the most exciting games of football to play. They really harassed Newcastle and scored some amazing goals. But they're under the radar because they're not particularly the most amazing team to watch in terms of like a football, like a Newcastle or a Melbourne Victory. So that's probably why they're under the radar. But if they keep picking up points and they're doing well in the Asia Champions League Elite 2, and the introduction of Mitch Duke's only going to
What's he going to bring in your eyes? You've seen him a lot.
Oh man, he's going to be amazing.
Because he's thinking of USA as well, right? He wants to be on that World Cup squad. So
yeah, and that adds a healthy competition with Harrison Sawyer, who's already on fire. Top goal scorer.
Yeah.
So that
Coming
makes
off your man, the Atlantic salmon.
Yeah, that's it. Freshwater salmon just bang, flying out of the water and pow, bang. Huh? Archie?
Yeah.
No good?
I think.
I love it. What is it? Pow.
Bang.
Yeah. Well, you also said he shouldn't be playing football. He should be on the cover of Vogue.
Yeah, he should be. Seriously,
stunning human being.
Absolutely.
Ticks every box.
Respect from everyone at the download, mate.
Like red carpet.
Yeah.
Roll it out.
Some are aesthetically pleasing, some aren't. Just the way it is. But just to quickly go into Macarthur, I watched them play just before Christmas. And obviously they're in the same boat as Melbourne City with the Asian Champions League. So they've got a run of games now where they can just focus on the A-League until sort of mid-Feb, where they're back in Asia. So it's a good chance for them to capitalise on points. But I saw them play on the 22nd and they defended really well. They had a 1-1 draw with Melbourne City. They played on Boxing Day. They had a really short turnaround and they had that 5-4 thriller against Newcastle and won.
Yeah, 5-4.
So they show that they can defend and fight and then they can really forge out a win and do something ugly as well in a pretty big game.
I think in that game, Caceres came on.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and then plays the Johnny Warren outside of the foot.
Beautiful.
And obviously to have Caceres come off the bench and they've got some good bona fide players there that can really have a strong crack at winning this thing.
Well, a team that is what we thought would be having a real chance of winning it was Melbourne City. Not to say that they can't, but they're also in this window of games where they have the opportunity to grab points with a big run of games at home. 7 games at home in this break in between their next game in Asia. They're really struggling at the moment, Archie, to find their feet, to find their form. They're battling with injuries. It's not the Melbourne City we're used to seeing. Are they being challenged by Asia? Is it the injuries? Like, what are you seeing with them?
Well, I think it's kind of a bit of both. The injuries again, Rekmani, I think is
potential.
Yeah, potential.
Yep.
Then Kanamori came on and came straight off with possibly a groin injury. It's not something new for them. Last year, the amount of players that were sidelined through injury was unbelievable. But they still managed to play incredible football with the young.
8 games in a row they didn't lose or something.
So now they're doing it again, but it's a strange one because they're just probably missing that link up front. Caputo was rested yesterday. The other week, just because I think he does a lot of running, and I did say that that's probably a hindrance for him too, because when you want to try and stay as fresh as you can, but he's doing such selfless stuff for the team that once it comes time for him to be potent in the box, it's just exhausted a little bit. So I think that's the right choice to probably sit him on the bench and just to get that energy going. I thought Mementi was good, had a couple of good strikes. But they'll find their form. It's a matter of time. They've got still a few games left at home. And Aziz Baic, I thought, was brilliant.
Solid again.
He's someone that can really pull their team out of... Just one player can pull the team out. I think there's still a good chance. They've just got to get back to goal scoring and it'll happen.
And Butker, just quickly, they've had 4 goals in their last 7 games, 1 win in their last 7 as well. So they are struggling. We were at the game on the weekend.
Yeah, we were.
It wasn't the greatest spectacle, let's say, but they definitely had chances to put Sydney away. So I guess they're moving in the right direction. Sydney's a form team in the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, like I said, they had Sydney at one point pinned in their own half. Mementi had a really good chance, played well. Yeah, they just really need that goal. They look solid enough, even with a few injuries. And they're another side that's heavily youth based, as well. They've got a lot of young kids there, so they're just probably a goal away, from getting that win and then hopefully getting on a roll. Their depth will be challenged again with another couple of injuries. And then what's their Asian window look like?
They're back in Feb. And they're doing quite well in that as well.
Yeah. So there's potential there to progress in that competition.
I think they only need the 1 point too.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. As Viddy said, no excuses for them. They want to be flying. You just can't write them off based off what Archie said. A lot of injuries last year, and they still got the chocolates in the competition. It's been an incredible year of A-League, and as you would have seen, we put out, and every Sunday this is going to be going out, but obviously as of yesterday, some questions that you can ask us here on the show, and we've got a couple. Pavle, which that could be...
Could be Macedonian.
Could be from your neck of the woods there on Instagram, asked us, is it a full strength Perth Glory, a dark horse in this league? I will caveat this, that me and Archie were very bullish on Perth before the season. A lot's gone on there though. Driller's gone, Griffo's come in, lighting up the press conferences, injuries.
I think they can.
You think they can?
Probably not this year for me, Arch.
Oh, no. Well, they've still got Despotowski, Kacharski, Lockie Wales. There's some good...
I think at full strength.
Yes, that's right.
They have a team to...
And that was a question, right?
Yeah.
Full strength.
Well, it said, do we think they're... is full strength Perth Glory dark horse?
I think so, definitely.
On paper, they are one of the best starting teams in the league.
Yeah.
And you add in now, you've got Tom Lawrence, and people are forgetting about Luke Amos.
Yes.
He's their number 10. He's the guy that played for Tottenham under Pochettino in a pre-season.
That's right.
So there,
So have we changed your mind? Back?
Yeah.
Not yet.
108 games for him, so he's
not yet.
He's staying firm.
But nearly there. Nearly there as well. My man Griffo.
Another man, Who do you want to be, Griffo, in the league? Ledge. Brodie on Instagram came to us and said, where do you think Wellington Phoenix will finish this season? Very tough question, that one.
Ooh. That one, Arch.
Gosh.
I'll wait for the experience first.
Yeah,
I'll come in.
I think they won't make finals. I'll just put it down to that. Yeah.
What do you reckon? Well, to be honest, I think their number one priority is Eze on a 2-year contract.
I'm not even sure.
Well, because if he isn't, teams are going to snap him up because teams are going to be coming from him. Even if he is, I still fear teams are going to be going after his name. So he's going to be pivotal to if they are going to have any success.
Yeah, so that's probably the focus really. When you look at Wellington, it's the rebuild. We all saw Chiefy's emotional pressure, the fair bit of pressure in that environment at the moment. So almost start to think, rebuild phase for next year.
And I want them to do well. I really want Wellington to do well. They're sort of everyone's kind of favourite team besides their own sort of team.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I want to thank you for the show. Happy New Year to you all. Happy name day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well pronounced.
No worries, man.
Ripper, 10 out of 10.
I'm going well. Yeah. Archie, we know you had a great day on the golf course yesterday. But,
it was good fun.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Thanks, brother.
To everyone at home, we thank you for coming back. A Happy New Year. As I said, we'll be here next week. That's all from us at the A-Leagues Download, presented by Isuzu.